I know you're very passionate about this. It's the topic of equality and inclusion.
Yeah.
What is your personal take on this? I know you talk of this thing called I'm black, I'm white, I'm Asian. So can you talk a bit more on that?
Yeah. So see, one thing which I can tell you, Pulkit, is ENI for me is a movement and not a moment, right? And I have personally got so much of learning in this space over the years, right? I think many of you know that, I grew up in India. India is obviously land of diversity with multiple languages, multiple religions. So we never thought of, the whole concept of whether any diverse teams is a problem, right? But when I went to Australia or in US in the recent past, I realized that the disparity of different vectors of diversity are so much up in your face, and that actually changes your thinking. In Australia, where we would say primarily people will be Aussie, right? But I was amazed to see I had 11 nationalities reporting into me in a small team of 30 people when I was based in Sydney. So the point I'm making is equality has different vectors. It's not just gender. It's not just people with disabilities or different abilities. It's not just LGBTQ, or it would not be just the Asia Pacific Americans or the Hispanics or the African ancestry. So it's not just the color. So I think what I always believe in this space is you should be like a panda, which for me is multicultural, right? And that's where this philosophy comes, that panda is black, it has white, and it comes from Asia, which is China. And that should be your mantra, which is to be multicultural. Because two things I will say here, Pulkit. One is, PNG has such diverse consumers, because we serve about 6 billion people across the world, and they are diverse. Our employee base needs to mirror that diversity, and we need to create inclusive culture in that diverse picture. Because if you cannot mirror the external diversity of your consumers, you will not be able to create winning solutions with them. And that's why creating an inclusive culture in a diverse community and a diverse employee base is what we need to bring. So that would be one important thing. So that's why I always say diverse teams produce better results via inclusive culture.
Right.
And then the second big thing for me in my personal job, as you know, we have 105 countries in Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa. We have close to 4 time zones, and the farthest east to farthest west is a 7-hour time zone difference, right? And we have multiple languages, multiple food habits. And how do you create a winning organization which truly makes 1 plus 1 equal to 3? I think that's why thinking like a panda, being multicultural, is so important. One of the other things I think you would have read about, which also was shaped in my stint in US, is about this 4V model, being an active ally. Because we talk about allyship and sponsorship, right? So a lot of times, you see a very different workforce around you. And important thing is, how can you be an active sponsor or ally of that team? And I use this 4V model. It's about, the first V is about being versed. So you need to, have the knowledge about, what's happening. So when I went into US, I was completely having zero knowledge about, the AA affinity group, the African ancestry. And, there were a lot of, riots happening in the industry. And I had to really understand that. So being versed is first important thing, then being vigilant, right? And we were chatting about this. When you have such a diverse people, even when we do one-on-one, it's important for us to understand what are those unspoken, undiscussable things, even in a one-on-one, right? Just through the body language. So the vigilance is the second important thing. So being versed, being vigilant. And then the other two things are about how strong of a voice you are. So being visible and being vocal. So if you have a good sensitivity and understanding of the issue because of the literature survey or reading of books, watching of films you have done in the topic of racial inequality or whatever, and then if you have really been vigilant about what's happening around you, both spoken and unspoken, and then using those two V's, if you can be more vocal and visible in this space, that's where a leader can create a difference.